Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on, to explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
The following presentation is intended to help bring context to the facts surrounding this case. The following presentation contains a map of the location, body-worn camera video, and photos of the scene. Some of the audio and video has been edited to protect the privacy of the victims involved and to avoid release of information that state law prohibits the Sheriff's Office from releasing. The redactions and edits do not affect the depiction of events presented in this video. Some of the audio and visuals we are about to present may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. On the morning of November 27, 2022 at approximately 1 a.m., deputies were on scene of a peace disturbance in the 600 block of North Maple Street in Wasco, California, when they heard gunshots coming from Romero Avenue west of North Palm Avenue. The following is footage from department-issued body-worn cameras of deputies involved in this incident. Please note the body-worn camera does not capture everything the deputy sees, and the deputy does not see everything the body-worn camera captures. Deputies responded to that area and located 4 vehicles. All 4 vehicles immediately fled westbound on Gromer Avenue. After a short vehicle pursuit, 1 vehicle was involved in a single vehicle collision at Magnolia Avenue and Gromer Avenue. Deputies attempted to make contact with the 2 occupants of that vehicle. The driver, Joel Urena, complied to deputies' orders, and the passenger, later identified as Kevin Romero, age 21, attempted to flee while in possession of a firearm, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. The following is footage from the department-issued body-worn camera of Deputy Michael Moreno.
Show me your hands! Show me.
Alright, let me back that up real quick.
Show me your hands! Show me both of you!
Alright, so they did like a 10-second skip on this, if you look at the timestamp.
Your hands!
Right there! Go down on the ground! On the ground!
Get down on the ground! Do not run! Get
On the ground!
Get down on the ground! Do not run! Get down on the ground!
Another 10
Get on the
skip.
ground! I will tase you! I will take down on the ground! One down. Cover him, my guy.
After the initial officer-involved shooting, Romero pushed himself off the ground and pointed his gun at deputies, and a second officer-involved shooting occurred.
Stay right there! Yes! Yes!
Do not move!
Don't move me! Right in his hands!
He's reaching.
Don't fucking move! Do not fucking
He's
move!
reaching. You do not move.
Don't
Do you
fucking
understand?
move!
Yeah, drink it? Yeah. Let me get light. Yeah, I got you.
The following is footage from the department-issued body-worn camera of Deputy Ryan De La Huerta.
Stay in the car! Stay in the car! Stay right there!
Show me both of your hands!
Stay right there! Go down to the ground! On the ground! How many people in the car with you? Other passenger! Step out of the car to the driver door! Come out and go to your stomach! Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground! On the ground! Wonderful! He's got handgun! Handgun! Put it on the ground! Shots fired, 999. 1 down. Cover him, I got. Stay right there! Do not move! Still moving. Gun in his hand. Start medical aid. Cover him, cover him. Don't fucking move! Do not fucking move! You got a tourniquet? Yeah.
And like, from the guy in the back of my car.
What's your name, brother? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Yeah, we'll get in a second. Okay.
Deputies rendered medical aid and applied a tourniquet. Romero was transported to a hospital for treatment of his injuries. The driver, Joel Urena, complied and was taken into custody without further incident. He was charged with evading a police officer. Romero was charged with assault with a firearm on a peace officer, brandishing or exhibiting a firearm in the presence of a peace officer, obstructing or resisting an executive officer, carrying a loaded firearm in a public place, carrying a loaded unregistered firearm, possession of an undetectable firearm, and possession of a controlled substance while armed with a gun.
Those are obviously each state's a little bit different with what their laws are, but I've never heard of some of these before. Possession of an undetectable firearm. I don't know why that's funny, but that's just funny to me.
Possession of an undetectable firearm and possession of a controlled substance while armed with a gun. Here is a closer look at Romero's firearm.
Oh, it's a ghost gun. Yeah, ghost guns are a popular thing now. More so, it seems like California, like they're always talking about ghost guns over there. A lot of their videos do include ghost guns like this. You go to other parts of the country and you just don't see ghost guns being very prevalent, I guess you could say. So it's kind of I guess it's almost geographically dependent on where you see these pop up a whole lot. So a ghost gun. What is a ghost gun? A ghost gun is basically a kit that people can get, kind of like a model car, right? Like you buy a model car kit, it comes with all the pieces in it, you just put it together, and then boom, you have a fully made model car. Well, the gun kit is kind of similar to that. It comes with the stuff that you need, and you put it all together yourself. But it's not as simple as just putting all the pieces together. So this brown piece, that's called the frame. And I'm glad this is different colored so it's easier to describe. So the whole brown piece right here, that is the frame of the gun. And this part is what is considered a firearm. This top piece right here, the black piece, this can completely come off from this. You can completely detach it. This alone up here is not considered a firearm. It's just it's a piece of a firearm, but when you look at having to buy and then register something or do paperwork on something, you don't have to do any paperwork on this. You can buy 100 of these slides and you never have to do any paperwork on them. You buy one of these frames that is completed, you have to do paperwork on it because that is a quote unquote a firearm according to law. Even if it's just the frame itself, just this brown piece, if you buy that just alone and it's fully completed, you have to do paperwork on it from an FFL dealer. Now, obviously, you do private sale, it doesn't matter. But if you go to a gun shop and they have only this brown piece for sale, you have to do paperwork on it. They got this top piece up here for sale, you don't have to do paperwork on it. So, when you buy this kit, in order for them to get away with you not having to do paperwork on this thing, this, and this, these holes right here do not exist when you buy this thing. It is completely full of plastic. There are no holes there. All the internal pieces are not inside the gun. So you don't see the trigger in there. You don't see the slide stop. You don't see the magazine release. None of those pieces are inside of this piece of plastic. It's just a piece of plastic, and there's no holes drilled into it. So with those holes being absent, this is considered an 80% lower. And you don't have to do any paperwork on that. It is essentially just buying a piece of plastic because it is not a working gun at this point. So you buy this kit and it has all that stuff in it, all the pieces. It even comes with the things to put in this hole, even though this hole does not exist yet. And it comes with a jig. So you take this jig, you put the frame inside this jig, and it holds it in place. And this jig has holes that help you guide where to drill at with the drill press. So you put this in a jig, you lay it down on your drill press, and you take your drill and go zoop, 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 and then boom, you made your holes. And of course, it comes with the different size bits and everything to make these holes because they're differently sized. Then you put all your pieces in there, put it together, and then voila, you've got a working gun that you did not have to do any paperwork on with a gun dealer, because when you bought it, it was not a firearm. It was just a bunch of pieces. Then when you made the holes in it, it becomes a firearm. So that in of itself is why some of these guns are popular, because these criminals have been able to order these things online, get them, put them together, and then they got a working gun. They didn't have to run the risk of breaking into a car and stealing it or anything like that. They just order it, they do their thing, and it gets put together. Now, some criminals are smart enough to do this. They're smart enough to, how to work a drill press and how to put pieces together and stuff like that. Other criminals are just, they're fucking stupid. There are some criminals that I think have difficulty chewing bubblegum and walking at the same time. There are some who would not be able to put stuff like this together, but others, they're smart enough to be able to do this. So they'll get these kits and they'll put them together. There's some criminals who I'm confident that they buy these kits, they put them together, and then they just turn around and sell them to other criminals who are too stupid to do it on their own. And they, in a sense, become an unlicensed gun dealer at that point. But anyway, that's what a ghost gun is. Now, we can see on this one, we do see a slide cut right here. So this is an optic ready slide. He doesn't have any optic on there, but it is capable of taking an optic on the top right there. We see what looks like some type of light. I don't think this is a weapon-mounted light. I think this is probably most likely a laser. The street crowd, the gangs, the fucking thugs, they love lasers. They refer to them as their beams. They're fucking fascinated with the damn things. And you'll see a lot of rap videos of them holding their guns and turning lasers on and, swinging the laser around and showing it off or whatever. If you're going to put anything on a gun, it needs to be a weapon-mounted light. Lasers, I don't think, are very useful on a pistol. Now, if it's a flashlight that happens to have a laser, sleeve to it, that's okay, I guess. But even then, using that laser as your means of trying to sight, I don't think is very optimal, because a lot of times what you find people doing is they're fishing for that sight. When it would be a whole lot more quicker and efficient for them to just look down the sights of the gun, acquire target, press trigger, and drop target. You try to point the gun at someone, you're now looking for the laser and where it's at, and then you start moving the gun back and forth to see if you can pick up the movement of that laser. Just kind of like how when you come to a computer and you grab the mouse and you move the mouse around a couple of times trying to look at the screen and figure out where the fucking cursor is on the screen. That's what ends up happening with lasers a lot of time. Lasers on a pistol can be useful, but under special circumstances. Like, for example, if you had a shield and you were aiming the pistol out around the side of that shield, it could be easier for you to use that laser to target things versus trying to line your sights up through that tiny little viewfinder on a shield. Or firing from odd positions, laying in a fetal position, trying to aim up under a car or something like that. Some type of odd position where it's hard for you to look through the sights. That's when those things can come in handy. Other than that, you should be using the sights that came with the pistol. A laser only is useless at night because all you're going to see is that fucking laser beam. You're not going to be able to positively identify the target and whether or not they're a threat. All you may see is a blob of a person, and you've got that red dot on them. Squeeze trigger, and then lo and behold, when the lights get turned on, they were never a threat. They never had a gun. They never had a weapon or anything. So a laser doesn't do you any good. A laser by itself doesn't do you any good at night because you cannot positively identify your target. And under certain certain lighting conditions, you can't even see your target at all. So that's why I say a weapon-mounted light is the most beneficial thing to have. But we're dealing with street thugs here, and street thugs are fucking stupid. And so they don't understand that stuff, and that's why they put lasers on their guns. They're stupid, and they see their idols doing it. Their rap gods doing it. You know, they look at the rap videos, and they see such and such with the beam on their pistol, and they're like, bruh, I gotta be like such and such, bruh. And then they go out and put a stupid laser on their pistol.
An unserialized ghost gun. Kern County Sheriff's Office homicide detectives responded to the scene to assume the investigation. Deputy Ryan De La Huerta and Deputy Michael Moreno were placed on routine administrative leave pending the completion of the investigation. The Kern County Sheriff's Office homicide detective, the Kern County District Attorney's convened a critical incident review board examining the use of force in this incident. The use of force in this case was determined to be within department policy. Anyone with information 31.
Of course,
force by any member.
Policy. Let's back this up. So, at the very beginning, they're at this call for a peace disturbance. That's another term I haven't heard before. And they hear shots fired, and then they go towards that shots fired. So, in that instance, as he is making the decision to go towards that's at, he should be getting a rifle ready. Now, is there a rifle in the car? I don't know that for sure. I would suspect they probably do, but I don't know it for sure. And even if there is a rifle in the car, at this point, I don't know where it's at. I don't know if it's in the cab of the vehicle or if it's in the cargo hold of the SUV. Wherever it is, at this point in time, this officer should have got that rifle out and ready. He had the time to be able to do that. This was not something exigent where shots are being fired right over here by this fucking car and he had to immediately react to contact. The shots are in the distance. He knows he's going to have to leave from this spot and go to another spot. And go to a spot where shots are being fired. So if the rifle's in the cargo hold, most definitely he should have went to the back of this car, grabbed his rifle, got it out, slung it around his neck, charged it, got it dangered up, and got in the driver's seat and went to that area. That way, when he would be able to dismount from the vehicle, boom, rifle in hand, ready to rock and roll. The other deputy, same thing. He was going to a call where shots had been fired. He should have got the rifle out and ready. Now, we don't get to see a whole lot. I wish they would have showed the second video first, because I think that is the most useful video.
Stay in the car! Stay in the car!
But you can see that obviously they lost control during this very short pursuit.
Stay in the car! Stay in the car!
And same thing. If this officer would have had a rifle slung around his neck, as soon as he came to a stop, boom, he would have been able to aim a rifle over here and had rifle coverage. Same with the other deputy. A rifle is far more superior than a pistol. A rifle is more accurate and it has better incapacitating power than a pistol does. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles. The only reason why pistols are carried is because they are comfortable and convenient to be able to do it day in, day out, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever, and it not hurt and not be fatiguing and it don't get in the way. Try carrying a rifle around for 8 hours. It's not comfortable. Not comfortable at all. And the second reason why pistols are carried all the time anyway is because police are not getting in gunfights every single fucking day. The average day for a police officer is typing or using an ink pen or talking on the radio. It does not involve pulling the trigger on their gun. They may pull their guns from time to time and point them at people, but majority of law enforcement in this country do not get involved in shootings. So it would not make sense to always carry a rifle around. That's where the pistol comes into play. You can carry the pistol day in, day out, do your mundane bullshit all day long, talking on the radio, typing reports, writing notes, whatever. And if something suddenly, rapidly happens, then you've got that pistol on your side to be able to deal with that deadly threat. A pistol can incapacitate a deadly threat, but it doesn't do as good of a job as a rifle does. And they are knowingly going 2 shots fired, so they should have brought rifles with them.
Stay right there! Stay right there! Go down to the ground! On the ground! How many people in the car with you? Other passenger! Step out of the car to the driver door!
So the first person that came out of the car, they could have gotten that person to walk back to the sound of, the passenger, or not the passenger, the backup officer's voice over there. And then that officer put them in cuffs and search them and secure them in the back of a car, and then order that other person to come out of the vehicle. So when they ordered both of them to get out of the vehicle, that created a situation, especially when the guy started moving away, that created a situation where it's basically a one-on-one kind of thing now. It's one officer to a bad guy. And they didn't have good enough numbers to be dealing with this. Now, if it had been 4 officers there, that would have been cool, because one officer could have been solely dedicated to covering that one guy on the ground while the other 3 went and dealt with the other guy. Or it could have been, a 2-on-1 kind of thing. But I think it would have been better if they would have had the driver initially just come back to the sound of their voice, cuff, search, stuff them in the back, and then pull the other one back out of the vehicle. And then once he got out of the vehicle, he probably would have done the same thing. He probably would have tried to walk away. But instead, this happened, and this guy started to walk away.
Come out and go to your stomach! Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground! On the ground!
Also, at this point, he's only relying on this guy's word that there's just one other person in the car. You have no idea if there's someone else in the back seat or not. There could be 2 more people in this car.
Waterfront! He's got handguns! Handguns! Put on the ground! Waterfront! He's got handguns! Handguns! Put on the ground! Shots fired, 999. 1 down. Cover him, Mike. Hey! Stay right there! Do not move! 1 down. Shots fired, 999. 1 down. Cover him, Mike. Hey! Stay right there! Do not move! Still moving. Gun in his hand.
So me, personally, if the dude's still moving and he's got the gun in his hand still, that's need for more deadly physical force to be used. This guy could still be fighting from a supine position here. He's on his... Just because he's laying on the ground doesn't mean he's not a threat. He can still be shooting from where he's at. And we know that pistol caliber rounds are not that great at physically incapacitating people. There's been times where people have been shot multiple times with pistols and they were still able to fight. A popular case that is often talked about in firearms training is the FBI Miami shootout back in the 1980s. FBI was tracking down these 2 bank robbers / armored car truck robbers and came across them, attempted to stop them. It turned into a gunfight, and at the very beginning of this gunfight, one of them got shot in the head. One of the bad guys got shot in the head, and it only temporarily knocked him out in this fight. He was able to wake back up in the middle of the gunfight and then crawl out of his damaged vehicle and go back to the vehicle of an FBI agent and attempt to take off in it. His buddy, right at the beginning of the gunshot, took a fatal hit to the chest. A round went in through the side of his chest and landed in his heart area. He was going to die from that. but it was not immediately physically incapacitating. He was still able to fight, and he went on to fight. He got shot more times after getting out of the car and being involved in the gunfight with pistol and shotgun, and he was able to go on to kill 2 FBI agents and seriously wound a few more. And autopsy reports show that he had nothing in his system, no drugs whatsoever, clean as could be. He had a very strong will to fight, and those rounds that hit him had no immediate physical incapacitation. So, just because this guy has fallen down on the ground does not mean that he is out of the fight. He could still be fighting from where he's at. So in this instance, I 100% believe this deputy here would have been fully justified in firing more rounds at this guy until he let go of that fucking gun.
Start medical aid. Cover him, cover him. Don't fucking move. Do not fucking move.
So I don't know if he has a grip switch on this or he's trying to actuate it with his finger. But there's times where you turn the light on and the light stays on. And this is obviously one of those scenarios where the light just needs to stay on. There is no need for momentary on and off. You're in the fight's happened, boom, weapon mounted light needs to stay on in this kind of scenario right here.
Got drunk it?
Yeah. From the guy in the back of my car.
What's your name, brother?
From the other perspective here.
999. One down. Cover him, my guy.
After the initial officer involved shooting, Romero pushed himself off the ground and pointed his gun at deputies, and a second officer involved shooting occurred.
Do not move! Don't move me. Point in his hand. He's reaching. Don't fucking move! Do not fucking move! He's reaching. You do not move. Do you understand?
Yeah, drink it? Yeah. You get light.
Yeah, I got you.
The following is footage.
Drink it? Yeah. From the guy in the back of my car.
What's your name, brother? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Yeah, we'll get in a second.
All right. So if they had rifles out, I don't think that they would have had to have fired that many rounds. They, I think, could have physically incapacitated him with fewer rounds, and it would have been a better outcome. So medical stuff here. We see the tourniquet being put on his leg, but I don't see any arterial bleeding. Tourniquets are good, but tourniquets are for stopping massive hemorrhaging, and that means arterial bleeds, or you've got an amputation and there's just a lot of blood coming out on top of arterial bleeding. There's a lot of times I see tourniquets being applied to people, and I don't think that the situations exist or the circumstances exist in the situation where a tourniquet is dictated. Something like a pressure bandage would be more suitable. But they are rendering medical aid to this guy with his pants and everything right there. I think probably the best thing to do is yank their shoes off, yank their pants all the way down off of them to better assess their injuries. That way you can see what kind of injuries they got and then go from there. Scissors, shears are nice and everything, but for pants and stuff, I just don't think they're needed. I think it's a whole lot easier just to yank the shoes and pants off of the person. Take them off the same way they went on. Now, once a person is on the ground, and they should be handcuffed at this point, trying to get the shirt and jacket off, it's not going to be able to come off the way it came on because the hands are cuffed behind the back. So that's where shears would come into play, is getting the shirt and jacket off. Shears need to be utilized. I don't think that using a knife is the most appropriate thing to be using because you could incur more injuries on that person if you're not careful with that knife. Shedding them of their clothing, I think, is important. Like I said, to be able to see what kind of injuries they got and be able to treat those injuries. The medical gear, you should have medical gear on you as your first line gear, and then you should have supplemental second line gear that could be in the vehicle. Obviously, you're not going to be able to carry a whole trauma kit on your body, but you can carry some basic things on you. And those basic things that you carry on you should be reserved for just you and or your teammates. It should not be used on other people, especially bad guys. The only time I would ever use your first line gear on someone else would be if it's a small kid, or a completely innocent bystander, so long as there is a lot of coverage there. The only exception being the kid. If there's not a whole lot of coverage there, I would still that it would be the best thing to do to use it on a kid. Adults, you know what? They had the same opportunities as you and I. They had the same opportunities to be able to research this stuff, be able to go out, buy medical gear, have the medical knowledge, and be able to carry this stuff on their person. They neglected to do it. They can wait for other stuff to be used. For the bad guys, 100% that, plus the fact that if you don't have enough coverage there, enough backup, who's to say the other person couldn't become a threat? Who's to say that those other vehicles that were involved in this don't come back and then they want to get involved in the gunfight because their buddy got shot? If you use your only tourniquet on a bad guy and then you get shot, what are you going to do? Are you going to take that fucking tourniquet off that bad guy that's soaked in blood and then put it on you? Probably not. So the gear that's on you should be for you and your teammates only. Bad guys get the stuff that's extra that's kept in the car. Having the tools is one part of the equation. You got to have the knowledge to be able to use those tools. Just like everything else on the tool belt, you got to have the knowledge on how to use it. No one just gets handed a fucking gun and says, "Hey, go forth and protect and serve." Like, everyone has to have some level of training and familiarization with those tools, and the same should be done with medical stuff. There are a lot of people out there that get a tourniquet and they have no formal training on how to apply a tourniquet or anything like that. They might watch a YouTube video or read some instructions and kind of have an idea about how it works, but they don't really know exactly how it works or how it needs to be set up. I see so many times, so many officers will have a tourniquet on their belt, and the retention strap that goes across to be able to secure the windlass in place is in the closed position instead of being in the open position. Little things like that will tell me that that person has not had any good formal training on a tourniquet. Because if you have a tourniquet and that retention strap, the little white piece of Velcro that has time written on it, if you have that stretched all the way across and latched down in the closed position, then if you get shot in one arm and you're unable to use one arm and you pull that tourniquet out, it's going to be difficult for you to unlatch that one piece and then put the tourniquet on and do all that. Or you could, under stress, pull your tourniquet out, put it on your arm, tighten the windlass down, and then boom, realize that the retention strap is in the closed position. And you're not going to be able to put that windlass in that little spot to keep the windlass from unwinding on itself. So it would be very difficult for you to maintain the pressure that you got on that windlass, hold it in place, and then try to use a finger or two to peel back that Velcro just so you can put that windlass in that retention cup. So that's why things like that, or that's why the retention strap, little white piece of fabric or the gray colored thing, needs to be stowed in the open position where it's not covering that gap where the windlass can be secured in that. But anyway, you got to have the knowledge and everything to go along with being able to use the tools. Now, we don't get to see a whole lot of medical treatment being utilized on this guy. I don't know what other injuries he has, but we do see them utilizing a tourniquet. And as I said, I don't see any arterial bleeding that would indicate the need for an actual tourniquet. That's it. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.